John. Oh, nope, I'm live. There we go. Hello. Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. Holy crap, my computer was doing the Watusi without me. Oh, breathe. Okay. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. There are 40,000 therapists working for them, and I have dog hair everywhere. What the heck? 40,000 therapists working for them. And I've gotten great feedback from people using them. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. Hi, everybody. Sorry. I just, computer. When technology does not do what it should, I just completely lose my mind because I'm like, I don't know, magic box not working. Anyway, it worked. Anyway, so, okay, today's current topic, little current event thing. Okay. So, hello from Spain. Hello, Spain. Today's current topic, I wanted to talk about Sean Combs has finally been arrested, although he was not arrested for beating the living crap out of his girlfriend that finally came to light. I think it was in May of this year. They're getting him on RICO charges. They're getting him on sex trafficking. Can't think of the other stuff. And of course, his attorneys are trying to minimize. Oh, it was one person. I don't care. If it was one person, it was one person that you violated. Not okay. So, and they're comparing the case to the R. Kelly case. So R. Kelly's was for child pornography, but this case is involving adults reportedly. So, I really have a problem with people beating their spouses. I'm not okay with that. And I'm not okay with his apology because the apology is in the changed behavior, not in the pretty words. And clearly the behavior continued because of all these other charges against him. So him and Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly, as far as I'm concerned, you can lock them up and throw away the key. And if I never hear their names again, it'll be too soon. So anyway, there is that. Okay. So, and I just wanted to talk about that. And honestly, again, the type of person who minimizes, I mean, honestly, sometimes I had this conversation with Brent the other day, my buddy Brent, that's the attorney. And we were talking about how some attorneys out there are just absolute slime dogs. Like, how can you be a defense attorney and have a moral compass, especially when you know this person has done these vile things, and then you come out and try to victim blame, or you try to come out and you try to like minimize? No, you can just go pound sand, mother clucker. I'm not interested. I just, yeah. So when attorneys do that, that shows me who they are. That shows me where their moral compass is. That shows me what they think. And that's all I need to know about them. I mean, this is the thing I keep telling people. It's like when people show you who they are by their actions or by what they say, believe them the first time. They are telling you who they are and what they really believe in. So anyway, there is that. And of course, there was another mass shooting last night in Alabama, which don't even get me started. Apparently, this one was a hit. This one was like gangster thugs hitting. It was a hit. It was intended to kill one person, but they killed, 4 and wounded 17. So again, healthy people don't just go out and grab a weapon and start killing people, but unhealthy people do. And really unhealthy people pay to have a hit done. So there that is. I really firmly believe, and this is just my opinion, but I don't think I'm wrong, that this country needs mental health help like nobody's effing business. Seriously. Because these people fall through the cracks or we have this societal thing where we worship and adore these celebrities and they're behaving badly. And I'm sorry, when people are in the public eye, they are held to a higher standard. And I think they should be to a certain degree. Now, obviously, if they're not hurting anybody and they're just doing their own thing, then no, leave them the hell alone. But if they're like beating their girlfriend on camera, if they're doing sex trafficking, if they're doing child pornography, if they're harming people, if they're hurting people, well, then yeah. So I just, It just drives me crazy. And how many careers were destroyed when Weinstein, especially when women stood up to Ashley Judd. I saw her at the conference I went to last year, and she talked about how he tanked her career, and he tanked another Rose. Oh, what was her name? John, do you remember the girl that was in the movie with the shotgun for the leg? The shotgun for the leg. It was the series of. It was the one with Kurt Russell where he had the car and he was driving and he was doing all of that. Oh, Rose McGower. Rose McGower. I knew I'd get there eventually. Sorry, guys. McGowan. Thank you. Oh, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. So he tanked her career. That's why we haven't seen her recently. He ruined so many careers. And I'm sure P. Diddy did the same thing for anyone who stood up to him. Don't get me started. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the abuse. I'm tired of the attitude that people are disposable or to be used. And again, that's what narcissists do. Narcissists view us as having no more meaning than this pen. And when that ink runs out, boop, they toss it because it doesn't serve them anymore. So anyway, and how many kids looked up to R. Kelly or P. Diddy, or, I'm sure they didn't look up to Harvey Weinstein, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like that is disturbing to me because that sends the message, oh, this is okay. But now it's not, which is good. But still, it's like, yeah, I hope they throw the book at him. I do. I really, truly do. I mean, they couldn't get him for beating his girlfriend, but I hope they throw the book at him for this. And of course, his attorney is minimizing everything. And I'm just like, how dare you? How dare you, you slimy scumbag? Seriously. Don't get me started. Anyway, so there's that. Okay, now on to today's topic. I wanted to talk about executive dysfunction. I do, because a lot of people with ADHD have executive dysfunction, and abusers use that to abuse, and they use it to manipulate, and they use it to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen cases where the abusive parent will punish the child for having executive dysfunction instead of dealing with the ADHD or the OCD or whatever else is going on. So I wanted to go through, okay, what is ADHD? So we're going to go through the list of the criteria for ADHD. I also wanted to talk about OCD because my clients that are adults that have ADHD either also have OCD or OCD is a part of the ADHD and it affects their lives. So I wanted to talk about that. Okay, so I've got the DSM-5. Hello. So we're going to go through what the criteria is. Okay, a persisting pattern of inattention or hyperactivity / impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development, characterized by one and or two. Okay, so number one, inattention. 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and that negatively impacts directly on social and academic occupational activities. So I can tell you from experience watching kids in my class when I was growing up that had ADHD, they were punished for not being able to sit still. They were punished for not being able to pay attention because their brains were, going a million miles a second and taking them off somewhere else. And of course, when I was growing up, corporal punishment was still around, which is stupid. I swear to God, if anyone laid a hand on my child, you would have to bail me out. Anyway, so these kids were being punished back in the day when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and it really didn't get much better because then in the starting the 1990s, they started drugging the living crap out of anybody who had ADHD, and they would do it when they were very, very young, and it was overdiagnosed. And so a lot of these abusive parents, narcissists specifically, would diagnose a normal kid as having ADHD and then have their doctor drug them so that they didn't have to deal with them. That causes so many problems. I cannot even begin to tell you, you should never have a child on medication until they're past the age of about 18, unless it is absolutely necessary and prescribed by a psychiatrist who knows their ass from a hole in the ground. Oh, don't get me started. Anyway, it causes problems. So, all right. So, inattention, we talked about that. The symptoms are not solely a manifestation of oppositional defiance disorder, hostility, or failure to understand tasks or instructions. And that's what they would get accused of. They'd look at them and go, well, you're being defiant. Well, no, they're literally not able to pay attention because their brain is going elsewhere. Neurodivergent. So this is all a part of neurodivergence also. So I wanted to make that very clear. Anything is neurodivergent that is deviating from what the quote unquote normal is. So neurodivergent, the brain is doing something that other people's brains don't, basically. So that would include autism scale. That would include ADHD because the brain is doing something that other people's brains are not doing. So they would be punished for being neurodivergent. That makes me so angry. Can I tell you how angry that makes me? That makes me so angry. And they'd be called names. And it just, oh, dog face banana patch. You know what I'm saying. Okay. All right. For older adolescents and adults, at least 5 symptoms are required. Okay. A, often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, at work, or during other activities. For example, overlooks or misses details um, or that it's inaccurate. Okay. B, often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play. They have difficulty remaining focused during lectures, conversations, or lengthy readings. So sometimes when I'm dealing with a client that I'm suspecting has ADHD, we'll be talking and they'll just suddenly drift off, and I'll have to be like, "Hello, where'd you go? Let's talk. What's happening?" Now, could that be dissociation? Sometimes, yes, it is. But other times it's like their brain is just working, and they'll tell me that. They'll be like, my brain is just going to this and to this and to that and to this, and I need to do this and I need to, oh, slow down. Okay, we need to get you evaluated. So, okay. C, often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. So you have to get their attention multiple times. Okay. Why is this so dangerous for kids? Because abusers, ugh, when they want a child's attention and demand it, and the kid is not focusing and they have to do it multiple times, they're going to punish the crap out of that kid. That's what I've seen happen. And then they call them stupid and they call them other names. And it's, again, abusers use the condition of ADHD as an excuse to punish. And I know that by this point, most people on the face of the planet understand ADHD, or at least know. So when oh, I had to turn the sound off. Hello. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. An abuser uses that as the excuse to punish them, to hurt them, to hit them, to call them names, to do whatever. And it makes them feel powerful because the kid is not responding immediately. And they take it personally. The abusers take it personally. It is not personal. That kid, if they could focus, trust me, they would. They can't. Getting to that in just a moment. Okay. Okay. Often does not follow through on instructions or fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties of the workplace. Starts tasks but quickly loses focus and easily distracted. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activity, difficulty managing sequential tasks, time management, difficulty keeping materials and belongings in order, messy, disorganized work, has poor time management, fails to meet deadlines. F, often avoids, dislikes, or is resistant or reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, schoolwork or homework. For older adolescents and adults, preparing reports, completing forms, reviewing lengthy papers. So when I have to send out paperwork to a potential client, if they have trouble getting through all the paperwork, that's kind of a clue to me that, okay, there might be some executive dysfunction going on. So yeah, it's just, that's just what happens. Okay. Often loses things necessary for tasks or activities, school materials, pencils, books, tools, wallets, keys, paperwork, eyeglasses, mobile telephones. H, is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. For older adolescents and adults may include unrelated thoughts and or intrusive thoughts. So that's kind of getting into the OCD. I is often forgetful in daily activities, doing chores, running errands for older adults and adolescents, or for older adolescents and adults, returning calls, paying bills, keeping appointments. Okay. Okay, and then we go to number 2. Hyperactivity and impulsivity. 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and negatively impacts directly on social or academic occupational activities. Note, the symptoms are not solely a manifestation of oppositional defiance disorder, hostility, or failure to understand tasks or instructions. For older adults and adults, or older adolescents and adults, 17 years and older, at least 5 of these symptoms are required. A, often fidgets or taps hands and feet or squirms in their seat. B, often leaves the seat in situations when remaining seated is expected, like school, for example, or church, or, a meeting or whatever. Leaves his or her place in the classroom, in the office, or other workplace, or other situations that may require staying in place. C, often runs about or climbs in situations in which it is inappropriate. Adolescents and adults may be feeling restless. Often is unable to play or engage in leisure activities quietly. Is often on the go, acting as if driven by a motor. For example, unable to be or uncomfortable being still for extended periods of time, such as in restaurants. Meetings may be experienced by others as restlessness or difficult to keep up with. F, talks excessively. G, often blurts out an answer before a question has been completed. Completes people's sentences. Cannot wait for turn in conversation. H, often has difficulty waiting his or her turn, especially when waiting in line. I, often interrupts or intrudes on others, butts into conversations, games, or activities, may start using other people's things without asking or receiving permission. For adolescents and adults, may intrude into or take over what others are doing. And then B, severe inattentive or hyperactive impulsive symptoms are present prior to the age of 12. C, severe inattentive or hyperactive impulsive symptoms are present in 2 or more of the settings: home, work, school, with friends, relatives, or in other activities. D, there is a clear evidence that the symptoms interfere with or reduce the quality of social, academic, or occupational functioning. And E, the symptoms do not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or another psychiatric disorder and are not better explained by another mental disorder, such as mood disorder, anxiety disorder, dissociative disorder, personality disorder, or substance intoxication or withdrawal. Whew. So that is ADHD. So, okay, now along with ADHD comes the thoughts, racing thoughts. It's kind of like not so much racing thoughts, but just like, oh, and I want to do that, and over there, and I've got to do that. And it's like the inability to kind of focus, right? So executive dysfunction comes from this. So let me pull up executive dysfunction. Hold on. So this is called How to Manage Problems with Executive Function. And this is by Jennifer Gerlach, licensed social worker. This is on Psychology Today. Okay, executive function. Executive functioning is a fancy term for the array of tasks it takes to plan and implement a task. This includes drawing out what is necessary, gathering tools, getting started, troubleshooting difficulties, staying at it, following up. Organizing time and space is also an important components. Working memory, processing speed, and frustration tolerance are related pieces. It's a lot. For some, executive dysfunction or executive function comes easily and in a predictable manner. For others, any number of these details can be treacherous, pulling one into a swamp of frustration and confusion, which then leads to depression and anxiety. We'll get to that in a moment. This is particularly the case when a person is neurodivergent, often meaning that the organization strategies that work well for a majority of people may not be as effective. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and executive functioning. Of all conditions, ADHD is perhaps the most associated with executive functioning difficulties. Unsurprisingly, executive functioning difficulties are associated with academic problems in children with ADHD and emotional troubles in adults with the condition. It can be incredibly discouraging when the relatively small pieces interrupt ability to complete their goals. So, for example, if a client has ADHD and it's undiagnosed and unmedicated, and they're dealing with an abuser and they're going through a high conflict divorce, they get wrapped up in the minutia. So, all the abuser has to do is like send them a nasty email. And the next thing you know, that person is spinning and they're like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. And they did, and they think this of me, and I need to defend myself. And oh my goodness. So it does affect survivors of abuse in that the abuser knows that if they send a nastygram, the person with ADHD undiagnosed is going to absolutely get wrapped up in their crazy BS details. Does that make sense? Okay. For individuals with ADHD, executive functioning problems are often complex, but are often tangled with distractibility and working memory alterations. Apps to assist in planning and tracking progress along the apps to assist with planning and tracking progress along with strategies such as breaking a task into smaller pieces with many rewards can help. So what I will tell clients, if they're struggling with ADHD, if they haven't been diagnosed yet, I encourage them to go get diagnosed. If you recognize yourself in any of this, please, 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 please go get evaluated, because I cannot tell you the difference getting on the right medication makes for my clients. So, for example, I had one client that was just couldn't focus, couldn't stay on track, couldn't get the necessary things together to give to the attorney to be able to defend themselves in court. Finally got evaluated, finally got on the right meds. Holy cow. It was like the sun came out and the voice came down and said, oh, because it's like then that person was able to suddenly get things together and focus and stay on track and not respond to the crazy that the abuser was sending, and to be able to document and take screenshots and put them in folders. And it was night and day. I'm not even kidding you. And I know a lot of people don't like pharmaceuticals. I dig it. I get it. I'm not a fan either. But if all else fails, like if you've tried all of the naturopathic ways to do it, and some people have success with naturopath stuffs, guys. So, a functional physician, what the heck is that called? Functional physician or functional, doctor, it's like naturopathic. So if all the naturopathic stuff does not work, then please consider going to a psychiatrist, getting evaluated, getting diagnosed, and getting on the right meds. Now with ADHD, you're probably going to have to be on them for the rest of your life. And or what I see some of my clients' psychiatrists doing is that they tell them to take it when they know they have to be focused. So like on the weekends, they don't take it because they don't have to be focused. But when they're at work, they have to be focused. So again, it's up to the psychiatrist. It's up to what the recommended, usage, dosage is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I am not a psychiatrist. I do not know. So, and here's the other thing. If you don't like your psychiatrist, and if you think that they're just jerking you around, fire them and go get one you like. There is nothing that says you cannot do that. So if after you've tried homeopathic, then please go get evaluated, get with a good psychiatrist, and get on the right meds. It literally is a lifesaver for so many of my clients. And like I said, try the non-pharmaceutical first if you don't like going straight to the pharmaceuticals. But if those don't work, then please do yourself a favor. Go try the pharmaceuticals. So there it is. Okay. Similarly, some report it to be easier to stay on task when doing something alongside another person. So like having an accountability buddy, having somebody that can work with you to help you stay focused, that can help as well. Executive functioning challenges outside of ADHD. A study of undergraduate students found that depressed mood and anxiety were both associated with executive functioning deficits. Well, yeah, if you're trying to do stuff and you can never finish and you can never focus and you're getting yelled at by people who don't understand, you're going to be depressed and you're going to be anxious and you're going to be fearful of being judged. You bet your bippy. So yeah, this is all it's all interconnected. And oftentimes once the ADHD is addressed and people are on the proper meds and they're, able to get their lives back, the depression and the anxiety tend to lessen and or go away. So there is that. Checklists for providing some structure for individuals living with anxiety assist with cognitive inflexibility. I'm sorry. Checklists can provide some structure for individuals living with anxiety and assist with cognitive inflexibility that can accompany anxiety. Seeing a complex task broken into manageable pieces is reassuring. So, the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So instead of looking at it, and people with neurodivergent and people with ADHD have a tendency to look at things that need to be done as a whole, as opposed to, okay, if I take baby steps and I can break this down, I can handle this, I can do this. So it's really important. Please listen to me now, believe me now. Take baby steps. You don't have to conquer Mount Everest all at once. You can take baby steps, and that's hugely important. And or get an accountability buddy that can help you stay on task. Motivational assistant might be particularly important in managing executive functioning difficulties in depression. This might mean checking in with another person regularly when working toward a goal, or pairing the task with another enjoyable task. So again, we are pack animals. We need each other. We need friends. We need support. Reach out. Ask for help. Ask for support. Ask for somebody to check in on you. It's really important. In autism, executive functioning difficulties have been identified in the domains of planning and flexibility. What works to improve executive functioning might vary widely from one person to another. Still, with consideration of the identified visual strengths and assistance through visual cues, autistic individuals may benefit from the use of visual aids such as color coding or writing and drawing in a physical manner. Executive functioning deficits are also common in mental health conditions such as bipolar disorder. Yes. Schizophrenia. Yes. Looking further, stress can be a huge, powerful trigger for executive dysfunction. I don't know anybody that functions well when they're stressed out. No, nobody functions well when they're stressed out. But if you're adding, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, ADHD, and then you're stressed out, oh, good Lord, no. Yeah, anyone is likely to struggle with organizing ideas, tasks, time, and space when they're feeling overwhelmed. For this reason, it is helpful for all of us to consider what works to decrease the stress in our lives and bolster our ability to complete tasks, as well as to be kind to ourselves when things just don't seem to be coming together. For those struggling, psychotherapy with a focus on executive functioning can assist. So it can be managed, it can be worked with. It's just, oh, Lord. Anyway, so that is executive dysfunction or executive functioning. And it's often comes out of ADHD. Now, also, I've noticed in my adult clients that have ADHD, I have noticed that they have obsessive compulsive intrusive thoughts. And I don't know if that's so much a function of the ADHD, although it seems very common in people with ADHD, at least adults with ADHD. But I've noticed that there's a lot of intrusive thoughts. There's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Ritualistic behavior kind of thing. So we're going to go over obsessive compulsive. How are we doing? I'm running out of time, but I'm going to do it anyway. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Okay, here we go. You ready? A pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and mental interpersonal control at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency beginning by early adulthood and presenting in a variety of contexts, such as by 4 or more of the following. Now, I would also like to add, it doesn't have to be those things. Those thoughts can also be intrusive thoughts about, say, for example, okay, the stereotypical one is washing hands, right? So people with obsessive compulsive disorder have a tendency to obsessively wash their hands, or, monk, right? Fear of germs, that kind of thing. But it can also be something as mundane as checking locks over and over and over again, or checking to make sure you turned off the stove over and over and over and over again. Like not just once or twice, but like 20 times kind of thing. Or you know, having thoughts about um needing to drive in circles to make sure that that bump in the road wasn't a person that you hit. That also is obsessive compulsive. And that could be a function of the ADHD, or it could just be obsessive compulsive. So hold on. Okay, so here's the criteria. Is preoccupied with details, rules, lists, order, organization, or schedules to the extent that the major point of the activity is lost. Number two, shows perfectionism that interferes with task completion, is unable to complete a project because his or her own overly strict standards are not met. Three, is excessively devoted to work, and productivity to the exclusion of leisure activities and friendships. So, workaholics, and they'll work, over hours. They'll have a job that's, say, for example, a salary job, and they'll work 60, 70, 80 hours, thereby lowering their own worth because the per hour pay is going down every hour over 40 hours, but they got to get it done. They got to get it done, got to get it done, that kind of thing. Is over-conscientious and scrupulous and inflexible about matters of morality, ethics, values, not accounted for cultural or religious identification, is unable to, and this is number 5, is unable to discard worn out or worthless objects even when they have no sentimental value. Oh my God. I know so many, and I don't know if this is a function of them being raised during the Depression, but there were so many in my parents' and my grandparents' age that would not throw out anything. Well, I might use this. You're not going to use that bent nail. Trust me, it's not happening. So yeah, that kind of thing. Number 6 is reluctant to delegate tasks or to work with others unless they submit exactly to their way of doing things. Control kind of thing. 7, adopts a miserly spending style towards both self and others. Money is viewed as something to be hoarded for future catastrophes. Number 8, shows rigidity and stubbornness. So that is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And I find that a lot of people that have ADHD have aspects of OCD. And so when I send them to go see a psychiatrist, I say, evaluate you for OCD as well, because that it might be a separate issue. It might be part of the ADHD. So to wrap this up, executive dysfunction comes out of an inability to focus, which comes from ADHD. Abusers love to use that, especially against kids. They do it against adults as well, but they really love to use the kid not paying attention as an excuse to abuse the kid, yell at them, scream at them, call them names, hit them, etc. So yeah, there is that. So it can be managed. It can be managed. So I would suggest really looking at the least invasive way of dealing with all of this first. And then if you need to, then you need to go see a psychiatrist, and then you need to look into pharmaceuticals. So there that is. Now, when you are dealing with abusers and you have got like ADHD, please make sure you have got a therapist working with you to help you deal with the incoming crap that the abuser is going to be throwing at you. I had one that literally had an abuser that would write novels on text, and it was overwhelming. And the client was just like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, only answer what's, about you. I don't have time to, okay, send them to me. Let me read through them and see what's important to answer. And then I would started training them on how to pick out the parts that were important. Basically, when an abuser starts doing that and they know you're going to get mired down in the details, you've got to train yourself to only respond to what is relevant to either the divorce directly, or to, if you're having a custody battle, to the child directly. So for example, this one I'm thinking of, they would send novels and there would literally be nothing in there that had anything to do with anything. They were just, damning the person for basically existing. And it was like, all you got to do is send received. So that's something I want you to consider. When an abuser is sending you nasty after nasty after nasty after nasty, you don't have to respond. You're not the jackass whisperer. You're not going to change them. They've already judge, jury, and executioner. So when they send you a nasty gram and they're accusing you of X, Y, and Z, all you got to do is say received. That's it. And then that way they can't say, oh, well, she didn't respond or he didn't respond or they don't blah, 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 blah. And especially get onto our family wizard. I'm not even kidding you, because they can't delete stuff. They can't change stuff. And if that judge sees that they're sending nasty grams all the time, and you are responding to what is relevant to the divorce or to the child, and you're just sending received whenever they send nasty grams, the judge is going to love you and not like them. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's hit some questions, shall we? All right. Do narcissists have a tendency to be addicted? Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Show me a narcissist, and I will show you someone who is usually, but not always, they either have a huge drug addiction, or alcoholic, huge, or they're porn addicts. That's the most frequent one, is the one that I've seen, is that they're mostly porn addicts. So yeah, they do have addiction issues, and different from run-of-the-mill addiction issues. Like, run-of-the-mill addiction issues, it's like, the addict will finally eventually hit rock bottom or die, one of the two, and they start working on themselves. They get clean and sober. Addicts get clean and sober if they want to get clean and sober. Narcissists, on the other hand, psychopaths, on the other hand, they have no interest. No, they're not the problem. They enjoy using people. They enjoy using drugs. And they don't care who they hurt. So there's the difference. Or if they do get clean and sober, here's the other thing I've seen them do. Suddenly they become communal narcissists and they start trying to lead like AA or whatever. And so you've got to be really careful. So especially if you go to AA or whatever, there's great people in AA. Don't get me wrong, but there's also going to be some in AA that are there for their ego. So the ones that are there for their ego are the ones who want a following. So they're the sponsors that have literally 20 million sponsees. If you're going to get a sponsor, you want a sponsor that has one, maybe two sponsees, so that they have time for you. Because if they've got 20 million sponsees, they're not going to have time to, return your phone call when you're ready to use. So yeah, be careful of that. The communal narcissists do infiltrate support groups, AA, NA, so. All right. My late narc mom was a chain smoker and used many painkillers and ate in secret, and it cost a fortune. Yes. Food addiction, painkillers. Yeah. My dad was addicted to opioids. He took codeine like it was candy. You bet. He was also an alcoholic. So that's no bueno. Yeah, they absolutely usually do. And they usually are given opportunity after opportunity to change or to work on the addiction or to help themselves. And they'll flat out, I don't need to quit smoking. I don't need to quit using. I don't need to, because they think they can do it on their own, or they think they know better than everybody else, because that's kind of the definition of a narcissist. So there that is. All right. Yes, they do have addictions. Question. I have been told at a foundation meeting with neurodivergence that CPTSD is a manifestation of autism, but autism is the thing that most needs addressing. May I hear your opinion on that? No. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder is not a manifestation of autism. I don't know who said that, but they're wrong. Let's talk about it. Complex, meaning the abuse happens over and 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 over again. Post, meaning after the fact, stress, anxiety, trauma was not good. Disorder, you're not coping with it. Listen, I know tons of people that have been through trauma that are not autistic that do not cope well with the trauma. So it's not a manifestation of autism. I don't know where the hell they got that information from. I'd love to know what their supposed credentials are. So no, that is not. CPTSD is a manifestation of trauma. Okay. Borderline is born of trauma. Okay. Autism has nothing to do with it. Autism is the way the brain is wired. The brain is wired differently. So, yep, there that is. Okay. How do we find a person who can help us if we have neurodivergence? I mean, for daily things, professional or not. Oh, okay. So this is not my strength. I'm just letting you guys know this now. I'm just, bringing this to the forefront because I want more discussion about this. I would say you have to ask. You have to be vocal and you have to search for people who specialize in neurodivergence. Seriously, like help, mental health people, helpers, etc. And you want to interview them. You want to interview them. Do they really know what they're talking about? Can they help you? Do they understand what it's like to have executive dysfunction? You know how hard that is and what a challenge it is to focus and to do things, to stay on task, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say interview whoever you're looking at and look on support groups. So neurodivergent support groups, they're out there. So just go talk to people because you'll get great information. Hey, who are you using? Hey, who helps you? How did you overcome this? And that doesn't necessarily need a therapist. It just means you need more resources. So I would look on autism support groups or autism resource sites. And again, please realize that's not my specialty. My specialty is PTSD and helping people get out of abusive relationships. But okay, look for resources, look for autism resources, look for neurodivergent resources, look for support groups and interview the living crap out of it. That is the biggest thing. I've had so many clients tell me that when they were trying to find a therapist, that these therapists would say, oh yes, I'm an expert in, and then they weren't. So you got to ask some really hard hitting questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. This is your life. You get to have somebody who knows their ass from a hole in the ground help you. So there that is. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Okay, I'm sorry. I meant CPTSD in. Oh dear. I think that got spelled wrong. I don't understand that question. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So the question previous that CPTSD is a manifestation. Okay. That CPTSD in autism is a manifestation of their autism out of masking being misunderstood. But here's what I will say. Being misunderstood can be extremely traumatic. How is it to be in a world that doesn't get you? That's trauma. That's trauma. I don't think that's masking. I think that's trauma. I mean, how awful to, you know, try to make your way through constantly being misunderstood, constantly not being valued or validated or what's the word I'm looking for? Uh somebody who's unwilling to meet you where you are. That's traumatic. Because think about it. Survivors of abuse, what is the one thing we all talk about multiple times in this thing here? Being heard, being seen, being understood is so vital for a person's well-being. And to not be heard, to not be seen, to not be understood, or to be misseen, that's a trauma. That's a trauma. So, yeah, I don't think they're masking. I think they're traumatized. Absolutely. And in speaking with young people that are neurodivergent, and in speaking with young adults that have ADHD and were uh so abused by either parent, it is a trauma. It is a trauma. And I think that people with neurodivergence should probably work on the trauma as well and write and burn letters. That's what I suggest. It's like, get it out, do something creative with it. Maybe painting or singing or screaming or whatever you need to get out those feelings of being not seen, not heard, not validated, not, misseen, misheard, not yeah. So it is a trauma. It absolutely is a trauma, but it's not masking. People with neurodivergence have been traumatized, especially by institutions like, I don't know, public school systems. Don't get me started. So yeah, there that is. So So yeah, it's I think not being heard, not being seen, not being believed. Oh, that's the big one. How many times have kids with neurodivergence or ADHD been told, "Oh, you don't have that. You're just being blah 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 blah." And to that, I want to find that adult and throat punch them. Seriously, because that invalidates the person. That person is suffering through this, literally suffering through this. This is not fun, And so this adult invalidates them. How awful. That's traumatic. That's traumatic. So gentle with you. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Work on the trauma. Maybe if you can, write it out. Who invalidated you? Who didn't see you? Or who missaw you? Who didn't hear you? Who misheard you? Who didn't validate you? Who invalidated you? Do you see where I'm going with that? And then you write them a go pound letter. Dear Mrs. So and so from sixth grade, how dare you, you stupid blankety blank, 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 blank. Here's what you did. Here's how I felt. And guess what? I'm an adult now and I don't have to put up with your BS. So kindly go pound sand, get out of my head. You have no reason to live up here rent free. One more second. Bye bye now, bye, and then burn it. Let it go. Those people who invalidated you in school have no business living in your head. 100%. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, all right, that's it. Next week, I want to talk about the feeling of being broken. So, I know a lot of people, especially coming out of an abusive relationship, they're like, oh my God, I'm so broken. How can I possibly heal? We're going to talk about that. So, we're going to talk about broken or just a little bit. So, because that's what happens to us. And it does feel like we're broken, but we're not. So we're going to talk about that and then how to overcome that feeling of just overwhelming, crushing sadness, because that's a lot of what's going on. So, all right, my loves, you guys go have a wonderful week. It is still freaking hot here in Phoenix. I mean, right now it's beautiful. It's going to be 93, but later this week it's going to be 105. How is this fall? I have no idea. Anyway, drink plenty of water, take good care of yourselves, eat healthily, and I will talk to you on Sunday, and I will do videos throughout the week. Also, the person who asked me about writing a book, that is coming out on Monday. So, how tips for writing a book. So, all right, guys, take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.